Good morning. My name is Dr. Rochelle Newton. I am a technology manager, a mother of 2 adult children, a wife, an advocate, a mentor, a leader, and a human being. These chats that I have established, these diversity chats, are intended for those of us who are in many cases voiceless and invisible. There are plenty powerful people who will speak to the nation and to the world. I am speaking to you. And I'm going to start talking to you today with just a simple poem by Langston. And it says, "What happens to a dream deferred? Does it dry up like a raisin in the sun? Or fester like a sore and then run? Does it stink like rotten meat? Or crust and sugar over like syrupy sweet? Maybe it just sags like a heavy load, or maybe it explodes." Since 1619, when the first Africans stepped off a boat on the American shores, Black people specifically have been at the bottom of every rung. We were not given an opportunity to have a fair and equal education for many years. We learned to eat what was left over from the food from the master's table. We learned to adjust and grow by watching others, but we had no legacy left to us. As I've said previously, almost every Black American cannot trace their ancestry to their great-great-great-grandmother, know what part of Africa they came from, know what tribe they belong to. The color of my skin has been helpful and hurtful at the exact same time. I heard someone say in one of the protests, "The lighter my skin, the better my protection." And in a lot of ways, that's a correct statement, but in a lot of ways, it is an incorrect statement. Because although I may be fair-skinned, I have thick lips, I have hips, my hair is hair. I don't have blonde hair, I don't have blue eyes. I'm just a regular, almost senior citizen Black woman. I've seen a lot in my life. I grew up being called the N-word. I grew up in a school where I was too light to be Black and too Black to be white. I grew up in a time where cruelty was expected. I think I may have shared this story with you, but I will share it with you again. When I was about 13 or 14 years old, a little small town I lived in South Carolina, my next door neighbor and I had walked to downtown, which was about 10 blocks maybe. And I had $2 to buy a Christmas present for my mother that raised me, my paternal aunt. And when I got back from the store, my mother beat me with a switch from a tree. And I was so hurt by that, but I didn't understand why I got that beating. And there were many other examples like that, like I opened a can of beans and left them in the can in the refrigerator. And I didn't understand why I got that beating. And there were so many others. I was raised as an only child. I was hungry until I was able to provide for myself. I learned to drive when I was 9 years old. And what's really amazing about all of that is that through a woman who was a domestic, she had a 4th grade education. She cleans floors on her hands and knees. She made the best life she could for she and I. And I am eternally grateful. She died on December 2nd, 1977. I was 19 years old. When I returned home from her funeral, I found out I was pregnant. And I have a beautiful daughter from that marriage. And she's a shining example. In 1994, I remarried to my current husband, and he and I have a son, a beautiful, beautiful Black man, smart, academically gifted, and everything else that you can imagine. Affable, personable, engaging, and introvert. And for both of my children, each time they leave my home to go to school, to go to work, to go to the grocery store, to go to the gym, wherever they go, I start praying. And I pray from the minute they leave the driveway to the minute they return to the driveway or arrive at their destination. So with these diversity chats, I hope you mothers, fathers, Black, white, blue, green, young, old, will join me and share your story. Your story is meant to encourage, to define the hurt and pain that we feel, help people to stop calling us angry Black women or violent Black men, and whatever other stereotype that makes it work for them, but that they know that they do have a voice, at least in this chat. As I said to you earlier, I'm an advocate. If you ask me to help you, and I have the means to do so, I will do so. I put my skin in the game every single day. There's not a person that can ask me to help that I do not help. You'll hear many of these people who know me talk about me and tell you who I am. I am simply a Black woman with a broken heart and a mind full of fear for the safety of those that look like me. It's time for this to stop. It's time to stop killing Black and brown people for trivial things. A young 12-year-old boy in a park playing with his BB gun shot dead. You can't see that person as human if that's your answer, because surely they could tell he was not an adult. A Black man running through new construction, shot dead. You can't tell me you see that person as human. For a man sitting in his own apartment, for a police officer to come in and shoot him because she thought she was in her own apartment, you can't tell me that's human. For a Black woman and her spouse to be sitting in their house and the police kick their door in and kill her because they had the wrong house, that's human. You can't tell me that putting your knee on someone's neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds, you see that person as human. Try holding your breath for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. You would die. So I ask, join me in these chats. Say whatever you wish to say. I start with one question and one question only, and then it goes organically from there. Tell me a little bit about yourself. And then whatever happens in the conversation, that's the way it goes. It is not perfect. It's not going to always make sense to everyone that hears it, but it is an attempt to give voice to everyone that is in the pain that I am. So I say thank you. Subscribe to my channel and come talk with me. Stay safe.